Good evening, everyone. Say hello when you are coming in. I'm coming on just a few minutes early so I can make sure we don't have any technical difficulties. You can actually hear me, and I can know that you are here. So we'll give everyone a few minutes to get in and say hello. Yes, we will. I'm super excited to come on tonight for our Wednesday money talk, and I have some exciting nuggets to share. Hello, Dr. Eve. Um, I have been really just immersed in this, and I'm really excited. I'm Yolanda Macombe, and I am an author. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a speaker, and I am an economic development and social justice advocate. And that is who I am coming as tonight. So, what does that mean? I am coming to provide information for you and your loved ones and anyone else that you might know who are looking to gain information on how to access financial mobility and economic mobility. So, within the Black community, we do have some people who have made it and have done very well with it. But oftentimes, we find that people will actually make it and they don't reach back. And so I am here with the purpose of educating, empowering, and making sure that you have the knowledge that you need to be able to reach your financial goals. So I am committed to doing this um, Wednesday money talk every Wednesday until y'all tell me that I'm done because there is so much to learn. There are so many different aspects of money to talk about from birth to death and even after death. So I'm here to bring you information on those things. So, my first question for you this evening is: could you live off $6 a day? I want you to comment. Could you live off of $6 a day? Have you thought about that before? What exactly does that entail? So, I'll give you a few figures. $6 a day is $2,190 per year, and that is $182 a month. So when you're thinking about whether or not you can live off of $6 a day, what things come to mind to actually be able to help you live off $6 a day if that's all you had to live off of? And that's where we talk about our safety net programs. So safety net programs, they come in to actually assist for those social needs that people need. So that's your food, that's your um, Medicare, your Medicaid, that's going to be your WIC for women and children. That's going to be Head Start, that's going to be your children's insurance. That actually includes the Affordable Health Care Act. So those are just a few things. Social Security and SSI, those are things that are going to be your social safety net programs that actually allow you to live off $6 a day. But when you're thinking about living off $6 a day, you have to think about things like housing. So in previous episodes or previous things that I've come up here to talk about, I've talked about having um, adequate housing. Like that's one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you need shelter in order to be able to thrive. You need food in order to be able to survive and thrive. And so um, I did some research and I found that the average rent in North Carolina, so this is the average rent in North Carolina, that is $13.95, and that's not $13.95. That is $1,395, okay, per month is the average rent in North Carolina. The average rent for the United States is $1,650. So when you are actually sitting back and thinking about whether or not people can live, say, off $6 a day, and you're looking at rental prices and that are average of $1,300, $1,400, and close to $1,700 across the United States, you realize that we have a major problem in the United States and in North Carolina. So, in looking at that, I look to see what is the average income for North Carolina. And the average income in North Carolina is $52,413. And that's approximately $143 per day for $4,360 a month. Okay. So if you're taking into account things like 1650 national average. If you're taking into account wanting to say obtain home ownership, okay? When you think about home ownership, typically lenders are going to be looking at probably like a 30% home payment to all right, so I am back. I don't know what happened to my computer. It said it was having trouble playing the video, but that's why I have my phone available. So I'm gonna let you guys have time to come back in here so that we can finish this up. Got somebody coming in. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My computer's saying that there was something wrong with shooting the video. So we actually have you on to this video. So I'm going to end this video. Okay. So, oh, you do see me. Okay. Well, I'll keep talking then. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. So, anyways, but so what I was saying is when you're thinking about doing something like getting a mortgage, okay? When you're looking at getting a mortgage, typically lenders are going to be looking at like a 30% payment to income ratio, right? So if your average income is $52,413 for the state of North Carolina or nationally, that's already going to be 30% or actually it's going to be more than the income that you make for the 30%. So the 30% would be around $1,295. That's over the average. That is over the average for your mortgage. Excuse me, that's over the average for your monthly rent that you would have to pay. So basically, if you're averaging $52,000 a year, that means that your rent is taking up more than 30% of your payments. And that's where the problem begins to happen. So homeownership comes into play because the average mortgage in the United States is about $1,295, so roughly $1,300. And if you're making that $52,000 a year, then you'll have 30% debt to income just off that. So several problems we have here. Rent is too high in the United States, in my opinion, and wages are too low in the United States. Where do we start? Do we start up high with the rent prices or do we start down low with the wages? And I think the easiest thing for us to look at is going to be the wages. North Carolina's minimum wage right now is $7.75, I think. That is just absolutely too low. Like, you can't really have a decent living off of $7.75 if you're looking at these average numbers. So if you go back to having a conversation about the safety net programs, that's where they are able to provide some additional buffer to you being able to live your life in a way that keeps you and your family afloat, and also provides the opportunity for you to have economic mobility. So I'm not sure if you guys were listening yesterday when Joe Biden announced his economic development force. I was so very excited to hear some of the people who were speaking because these people have actually been through the struggle, and I truly believe that they are going to bring so much value to this next administration because they actually have been through the struggle. So, one of the people who were up there talking, her dad had been, let's see, he had been laid off of Boeing, I believe, and they actually had to depend on safety net programs. There was another male who was actually a black male. He was African American. He grew up having to depend on safety net programs. And so when you're thinking about how this administration is going to be able to change our lives for the better, you like I have a lot of high hopes for this administration to be able to really push through legislation and continue to provide that support that we need for these families, our families, to be able to get the financial resources that they need so that they can then try to work towards economic mobility. So, in talking about economic mobility, one of the things that I'm a big advocate of is home ownership. And it seems so daunting to a lot of us because, maybe no one in your family has ever owned a home, or maybe you've seen people actually lose homes and you're freaked out about it. It's not that scary once you start your process, but you really can't talk about that until you address the credit situation that we have going on. So a lot of people right now are really saddled with student loan debt. Okay. Um, I'm going to tell you a secret, and this is a key nugget. If you are looking to get a home within the next 3 to 6 months, I know that we are on a deferment, okay? But one thing I will suggest that you do is call your student loan servicer and ask them to put you on a very low payment plan. And they will typically do this for at least $25 a month. So, what does that mean? When you get on a payment plan and you actually have a plan versus being in deferment, your creditor or your lender actually has to use whatever payment is showing on your credit report. So that's a little secret, and I want you all to know that because that is a really big thing that gets a lot of people right now that I see. So if you don't have student loans, be grateful. And if you have other things going on with your credit, like you've had some type of bad credit going on, um, I talked about predatory lending very, very briefly last week. And predatory lending is really a thing. And the Black community is disproportionately affected and typically get in situations that they have charge offs because they cannot afford the high interest rates from the predatory lenders. So we want to figure out a way to actually stop that. We talked about budgeting. So budgeting will be your first step to trying to figure that out. The second step is trying to figure out a debt payoff plan. So right now, this is the holidays, okay? You do not need to go out and buy everybody everything in this season. If you have set your goals, one thing that you can do is stick to your goals. So right now, you don't have to go up and charge up your credit cards, your store cards, because they're going to charge you 25, 35%, and you'll be paying that until next Christmas, and you will have paid double of what you charge right now. So that's just talking about the holidays. But and I'm bringing up the holidays specifically because we all get into this trap where we get excited about the holidays, and I have done it before. I have paid off credit cards and ran them back up at Christmas because you get into this excitement of, oh my gosh, I've got to go and do X, Y, and Z for X and Y. And then you typically aren't getting anything back in return. And I'm not saying that you should, but you end up spending a lot of money that in reality you just don't have. And sometimes it's okay to say no. And sometimes it's okay to say, I don't have it right now, and let them be okay with it. None of your relationships should be based on gifts anyway. Now, of course, children are different, but even those little people don't need every single thing on their list right now. You also have the option to be able to save up throughout the year. So don't feel like at the end of the year you have to come up with all this money. Put away a little bit of money every month so that you're not spending money just recklessly throughout the month of November and December. Like you have 12 months to plan for it. So after this year, what we are going to do is start saving come January for the holidays so that you can prevent yourself from running up credit cards during the holidays. So that's number one. If you have any type of credit issues going on, so that is charge offs, um, repos, if you've had foreclosure, if you've had bankruptcy, it's not the end for you. Like it's really not the end for you. There is hope for you. Okay. So if you have charge offs are when a company writes off your debt that you owe as a bad debt. So they write it off and they'll put it on your credit report as like the entire balance, and then maybe they'll set you up on a payment plan, or maybe they will send it off to a creditor. Okay. But once it's charged off, that is the worst thing that can happen to a credit account on your credit report. So lenders don't think that you can actually pay your bill. So if I know there are a lot of debt collecting, or a lot of what are the save that coffee and buy some stocks. Yes, stocks will make you a whole lot of money than buying McDonald's coffee every morning. Like I already know. I've been investing for about 6 months consistently now. Y'all, I have like a 28% return on my money, but we'll talk about that because we actually can't talk about investing till we get to through the hard stuff. But and you can actually invest right now. Like you don't have to have it all together, but you want to get these basic things down first. So anyway, charge off, be gone, go away. So the way to get rid of charge off, you can call the creditor who has your account. And yes, one of the things you can do is argue when they sell your information. How effective is that? I'm not sure because I haven't done that before. So if anybody has information about that or has had experience with that, feel free to share it because I typically call and I'll settle it. So actually, you you can call a company and if it's been on their books for a while, you can call them and say, hey, listen, I don't have the money to pay the whole entire balance, but I want to offer X amount. I tell people to start off at 25% or whatever the balance is, and you just negotiate from there. And once you do that negotiation and agree on a amount to pay for and settle for, then that's going to look a whole lot more favorable because that account is going to be closed. Right. You did not do business with those people, but I will tell you that when you are signing these documents for these loans and these companies charge off an account and they send it, it's okay because I want to be very clear. There's probably a clause in there somewhere that says that you're going to be responsible and that they can sell the servicing rights of that account. That goes for mortgages, that goes for credit cards, that goes for car loans, that goes for a lot of different lending that goes on. So they can actually sell those servicing rights. But I will tell you that settlement will be your best bet because if you put like an identity theft or fraud thing on your credit report, it stays up there for 7 years and then lenders get very spooked by that. So settling is your best bet when it comes to paying back charge off debt. And you can do that through letters. You can do that through calling. Typically, those are the two biggest options for you. If you feel like you've been wronged, you can always call the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they will actually do investigations for you to see if there's any type of recourse. Yes, to be able to help you with a situation. So that's charged off debt. If you have a repossession on your credit, so those things usually stay on your credit for about 7 years. But again, this is another way that you can turn your car in if you happen to if it's like a voluntary repossession and you just don't have the money, you can just turn the car in and just pay the deficit. If you keep the car, because I know situations where the company will actually let you keep the car for whatever reason, and just put the deficit on your credit report. you again can call and try to negotiate a settlement with them. Because settling, I'm telling you, creditors typically just want something, and once it shows up as a closed account on your credit report, you can continue to move on with your life. So, and it also helps your credit score. And that's one of the things that I do want to talk about tonight. So, when dealing with a credit score, um, people are very much attached to their credit scores for whatever reason. I know the reason, but people are very much attached to their credit scores. And the reason why is because they are made to think that the credit score gives them some type of value. Okay? Well, let me tell you what your credit score is made up of so that you get an idea of how this actually goes. So, it's five components that your credit score is made up of. And the first one is going to be your payment history. So your payment history is the very first thing. It's about 35% of your credit score. That is looking at how you make your payments, how you pay your bills. Um, Typically, if you miss one payment here and there, you'll stay in the 99% to 98%. But that does weigh very heavily because when lenders are looking at that, they want to know that you have the capacity, ability, and willingness to actually pay back your debt. Then they actually look at your outstanding debt. So outstanding debt is actually going to be everything that you have, like revolving credit. Um, you have what's it called? Secure credit, so like credit cards or homes. Installment is what it's called, installment debt. But that is made up of about 30% of your credit score. And what that means is if you have credit cards or open lines of credit that you basically can like reuse on a monthly basis or whenever, you'll want to keep those balances as low as possible. Why? Because that is 30% of your credit score. So if you keep your balances on your credit cards at literally about 30%, that'll keep you from having a negative impact on your credit score. Then they look at your credit history length. So typically, that's going to be how long you've had your credit open. Your oldest line of credit will be taken into account. So if you happen to be on your debt payment plan or your debt payoff plan, what you don't want to do is close anything. You pay them off and you leave them open. Why? Because that counts for 15% of your credit score. So the older your debt is, the older your accounts are, the better because lenders like to see that you have consistency. They like to see that you can pay stuff off. They like to see that you have relationships with your lender. So that counts for 15%. That's your credit history length. The pursuit of new credit, that is going to be your inquiry. So anytime you are applying for credit, there's going to be an inquiry on your credit report. An inquiry means like, they want to, they're putting it in the system so that they can actually access your information. That is 10% of your credit score. So you'll want to keep those low. 1 to 2 a year. You don't need to go out and actually get a whole bunch of credit cards to build a good credit score. It's not that necessary. You just keep them, get your credit cards and then just keep those in good standing. And that actually allows your credit score to build. And then your credit mix. So that counts for 10% of your credit report. For your credit score. 10% for your credit mix. That's going to be like what's the variety of credit do you have? So do you have a lot of credit cards? Do you have a lot of personal loans? Do you have a car loan? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have overline? Do you have clothesline? Like that's what the credit mix is looking for. So I actually had a question here that said, what is the recommended amount to charge? So if you have a credit card, say you have a credit card and you have a $10,000 limit, your best bet is to keep it 3,000 or less. And what that means is like you can charge 10,000 if you want to, but I would prefer you to have $7,000 to pay that down to $3,000 so that you can keep that revolving credit at 30%. And the credit history length is 15%. So that's what your credit score is made of. But I would encourage you not to focus so much on your credit score. Why is that? It literally is an arbitrary number. You got three different credit bureaus and the FICO that give you a credit score. And if you ever go to Credit Karma, you will see that TransUnion and Equifax, they typically have very differing credit scores because they use different algorithms. So your best bet is to just keep your debt low, keep your debt limited, keep your inquiries low. Try not to try not to take out too many types of credit at one time. You do have some issues where a creditor will close your credit card because you didn't use them for a long time. I've had that. I've had them threaten to actually, close it. Go charge some gas on it. You know, go and get an outfit, but pay it right back. Because they do want you to actually utilize that credit card, but keep your debt low. And so if you got into a situation where you bring your debt up, like, and like for us, like I've told you, we had a situation where we were living off two incomes, and so our debt was based on two incomes, and then our income went from two to one, and then it went from one, like half of the income that we were used to getting, like consistency, so it went to one and a half, but it still wasn't that full salary, based on two people that we were getting. So then we had to get creative and actually start paying down some of that stuff so that we wouldn't be eating our fingernails for dinner because we had so many bills. Okay, so that's what makes up a credit score. But when you're thinking about going to get new credit, depending on where you go, really, if your credit score is not like a 760, in the 700s, then they may be a little bit finicky about how they give you credit. Don't worry. What you'll want to actually do is plan for things. So, one of the things that we are adopting in this season is we're not spending a lot of money on credit cards because we've been there and done that. We don't want those problems. We don't want those headaches. So anything that's kind of like unexpected, where we really just didn't plan for, if we do have to put it on the credit card, we make sure that there's a plan to actually pay that off in a certain amount of time because we just don't want to go back to the space of having like really high credit card debt. Now, if you have a car dealership calling you right now and you don't have but two payments left, go on, pay those two payments and put them on block because we don't want you having no more debt. Because I think I heard you say that your husband's supposed to get you a new house. You got to furnish that house. So go on, pay that off, and put those car payments up. Or better yet, invest those car payments because you won't have that anymore. And you actually have freedom and flexibility to be able to, do with your money what you will, and you actually have the opportunity to get a return on your money, then paying somebody interest. And that's what our goal is. That is what I want to teach each and every one of you in this season because listen, I have to speak from the professional side for a minute. We are not taught these things for a reason. I was listening to Lynn Richardson, who is like a really popular and very well versed financial coach, and she made a comment on one of these videos I was watching, and she said that they used to actually teach financial literacy in school, and the Rockefeller family actually advocated to pull it out because they said that we don't need to be learning how to think for ourselves. They needed workers. And that's why financial literacy and these financial things are not actually taught in schools anymore. And it's to be obtained and learned for you to go after it. But who did that disproportionately affect? It affected us. It affected us. There have been so many years and generations of wealth that have been passed down in the communities that are not ours. And we are here to take that back and to take our claim back because we need to get what we deserve. And that is not to say that we're going to take it from somebody. No, we're going to learn what we need to know. We're going to apply these things so that when when we get to the age where we get to our financial freedom, when we provide that financial freedom to our children, our grandchildren, and their grandchildren, and generations along beyond that, everything that we're learning right now, and everything that we will have, invested and sacrificed in this season will have been to set these future people and these future generations up. So I will be back to talk next Wednesday. I am Yolanda Makumbe, and like I said earlier, I am here as a economic development and social justice advocate, and I am so excited to bring this information to you. I also am a I Am We grantee, and I am excited to be here representing the North Carolina Black Women's Roundtable, NC Block, and so many other things that have brought me to this point. And really, it doesn't stop here. So there are a lot of resources that I've already posted talking about budgeting and also talking about my own journey and the struggles that we have experienced. Are we completely out? Absolutely not. But we are on a journey because, again, we're not doing this just for us, and it's not going to end just with us. This is going to keep going and going and going, and our children are going to benefit from this, and our great grandchildren and their children. And I'm excited because it's like a wealth of knowledge that I'm grateful that God has bestowed upon me, and I'm excited to bring to the I Am We community. So, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I have already challenged you all to start your budget. That has been about 3 weeks to a month ago. So, you should have at least your first 2 weeks of your budget done. If you're finding yourself getting frustrated, let me know. If you find yourself stuck, you let me know. Why? We cannot do this alone. We were not meant to do this alone. We are not here to do this by ourselves. If it was supposed to be that way, God would bestow it upon us. Okay. So I want you all to utilize my resources. I want you to reach out to me because I am here. I am here. We can do this together. In the comments, I actually want you to tell me, what does your financial freedom look like for the next 3 years? Because that's still my question for you. Until I get it, I'm gonna keep asking until I get it. What's your financial freedom look like for the next 3 years? And then we're gonna actually pick up and stretch it out after the 3 years. But I just want to know, what are you doing to get to your financial freedom for the next 3 years? You're saving money on coffee. I'm saving money on coffee too. Can you do a work session? I'll be happy to do a work session. Um, we can do one at the end of the month so we can actually start the new year ready to be consistent, ready to be empowered, and ready to be focused. That's what we're going to do. So I hope you all have had a great first 2 days of December. This is going to be a December to remember. Oh, and let me tell you what my goal is, okay? So I got this student loan bill in the mail. Now, this is from undergrad. Yes, it's from undergrad. And I have I had already paid off one part of this three earlier this year, and I forgot about that. So praise the Lord. Okay. So right now I'm owing 2151 as a whole, but one of them is broken down to $414.59, and I'm speaking that thing paid and closed by December 31st. I don't know how it's gonna happen. I mean, I have a plan on how it's gonna happen, but that is my goal. That is my one of my goals towards financial freedom is this little CFI college foundation is going to be closed, shut. That money will then go to my son's college fund, and that is what I'm going to do. But that $464 is going to be paid off by December 31st, and I'm excited to come back and tell you when it is paid off. So, if you have any questions, y'all, please, 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 please reach out. I'm so excited for you all being here. You did get the budget plan. I'm so excited. That's good. That's a first start. That's a first start. Now you got to put pen to paper, and you will. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. So I didn't get to talk about a couple things that I mentioned, but we had like this is a journey, and there is no rush. There is no rush. We're going to build low. We're going to build slow, and we're going to start with the basics, and then we will make sure that we all support each other in this journey. So I love you. I love you, Dr. Eve. Dr. Eve, thank you. Thank you. Angela, thank you. Yolanda Dupree, thank you. I think I saw Tia, thank you. Thank y'all all for tuning in and listening. If you are watching this on a replay, hashtag replay. And I am going. I'm gonna be making a journal. I mean, a budget book, a budget planner. I will. I will. I will. That might pay for the rest of my student loans. That will pay for the rest of my student loans. So that'll be something that I'll be working on in the background as well. I love you all. I appreciate it. And have a wonderful evening. And like I said, hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay and put those goals in there. Have a good evening.